Hello, my name's Pandora, and this is a very quick tutorial about how to take an image out of a background. What I have on screen here is an image, and you can see that because if we look at the bottom it tells us so. And just to make it easy to see, I've put this blue, it is early in the morning, green rectangle behind it. So what I'm going to do is select the image and then come across and click on my Bezier tool. And I'm going to do a very quick trace just to explain how this works. Not really do it terribly accurately, but it's more to show you the technique than anything else. So if we clip around it, and I'm going to zoom in just to do it. Now if I come across and use the node editing tool, I can reposition these nodes in the right places, click and drag. And if you're doing this with an image that you're particularly fond of, you're going to want to take a bit more care than I'm going to use just now. This is going to be fairly quick and rough and ready. The less nodes that you have, by the way, when you're doing cutting, the better, so I try and use as few as possible. You can see down here, this isn't going to cut terribly accurately, but as I say, it's more for an example than it is for something I'm actually going to use. Again, we're just going to this more or less in line, because I'm not too worried. As I say, we're just going to do it very roughly. So, if I zoom out again, now we have our our tracing, should I say. I'll just move that across. You can see there's the tracing, and if I undo that, we've now got the tracing and the image. At this point it occurs to me that you may want to use print and cut with this particular image. So just before we go any further, and having completed the trace, what I suggest you do is hit Ctrl+D on your keyboard, and whilst nothing seems to happen, if you now click and drag, you'll find that you actually have two copies of the trace, one here and one here. So if I just undo that and go back to where I was, so here's my original trace, let's put that back to where it was, Ctrl+D. Now what I'd want you to do is open a new layer, and if you press Ctrl, Shift and the letter L, you'll bring up the layer palette over here. You can see I already have two layers, one that's hidden, on which I have my registration marks, the one that's the image on, and I'm going to click on the plus sign and add a new layer, and I'm going to call this outline trace and click on add. Now by selecting the layer, and make sure you've got the top one selected and still in the right place, if you go to layer, move selection to layer above, and because we're on this layer, I'm actually going to change the stroke to pink, so I'm going to right click on the bottom and set stroke. You can now see, if I zoom in, that we've now got a pink layer here, and what I'm going to do is hide it. If I click it off, you can see it's hidden, so it's on that outline trace layer, and I'm going to lock that and hide it just so we don't get confused. I'll zoom out again, and then now we have our trace selected. You can see it's there. Let's just undo that so it goes back to where it was. Select the image by holding the shift key down and select the image, and you can see we've now got two squares. That means they're both selected. Go to Object, Clip and Set, and you can see, voila, we have an image exactly in the right place. If I switch the outline trace layer on, you'll find that that pink layer is still there. Let's zoom in just so you can see it. So there's the outline trace on, on, and zoom back again. So now we have an image cut out quite beautifully, and you can see that we also have our outline trace image. Just undo that to put it back in the right place. Fine. What I was thinking was, you may actually want to print and cut this image that you're cutting out, and how would you go about doing that? Well, let's first of all get rid of the green box here, which I simply put on so you could see I was removing the background, and I'm just going to click on that and delete it. I'm going to switch off the outline trace over here, and then I'm going to come down and I'm going to switch on the registration layers, and just because I can see they're slightly askew, I'm going to unlock it, move them across, and then lock it again so I can't move those. I could now send this to print. Having printed it and put it on my mat in the Cougar, what I would then do is switch off the registration layer because we don't need to cut that, switch off the image layer because that won't cut, SignCut won't recognise it, and switch on the outline trace. At that point I can go Extensions, Export, Send to SignCut, and there it'll cut it out beautifully for you. I hope that's useful, and I hope you have a great day.